Kia ora, good evening and welcome to the Huddy Hui for our 78th episode. And tonight is a young man who started his career at St Pat's Town playing rugby. And one would say that after his time at college, he's actually gone on to do great things, in particular in the game of rugby. And not every day, is it, does everyone get to transition from 15s to 7s. And our guest tonight was lucky enough 3 weeks ago to make his debut for the New Zealand's team in Hong Kong. Rhodes Featherstone is our guest on the Hui this Wednesday. Rhodes, many thanks for coming on the Hui and congratulations on your debut at the Hong Kong Sevens 3 weeks ago. How was that experience and how was it when you ran out at Hong Kong at the Mecca of Sevens?
Yeah, cheers for having me. Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable, to be fair. It's Hong Kong's kind of considered the tournament almost a pinnacle event, just in terms of the history behind it and that. So yeah, to get an opportunity to put the boots on and wear a black jersey there was yeah, pretty unbelievable. It was surreal.
New Zealand's played 2 times this World Series in Hong Kong. Why is that?
I think they tried to catch up on a tournament or two post COVID. So I think this season started with a tourney in Hong Kong just on its own, which we didn't perform too well at. And then obviously we went back there a few weeks ago. So catch up. I think they like to try and do 10 tourneys a year and chuck it in there to make up for one or two.
And what game did you make your debut for at Hong Kong against?
Yeah, Kenya. So first game. Got a good couple of minutes there, and the boys were absolutely hissing and playing some bloody good code, so they didn't need me for the rest of it. But no, it was all right. It was pretty good. Good couple of minutes. Got to test the old shoulder out and make a couple tackles. So yeah, no, it was fizzing. Still fizzing from it, to be honest. Thinking back, it's yeah, a moment I'll never forget, and I'll probably be chasing that feeling for a bloody long time.
What is your New Zealand Sevens number, and what happens when you make your debut for the New Zealand Sevens team?
So I'm number 311, 311. It's pretty cool. It's post, after at the end of the day, we sat down and did a bit of a debrief about how the game went. We only played the one game that day, so we kind of had a bit of a debrief, and then yeah, as a team, you get presented a necklace with your number on it, which is pretty special. It's boys they wear it when they travel, when they leave the country. It's pretty special thing. So yeah, had that presented, few stories, and then yeah, we just shifted straight into prepping for the next day.
And of course, Hong Kong was rather special for New Zealand 3 weeks ago. It was the first time in quite a while that the All Black Sevens had won the tournament. Tell us about the feeling when you finally got that tournament win finally after, I think it was probably since 2016 from memory.
Yeah. No, the guys had it circled pretty much as soon as they came back from their last trip. They knew that we were going there to do a job. And we kind of took the focus more internally about how we wanted to play code and how we wanted to play for the weekend. So to go there and just execute was pretty fantastic. We were down on a few big names, which gave a couple of us the opportunity to make our debut, and they just loved it, and it was just executing was pretty good.
And pretty much straight after that, yeah, next weekend you're in Singapore, playing at what is another unique stadium, mostly covered with a roof, and of course won that tournament as well. How many games did you get to play in Singapore?
Yeah, got a handful, got a couple more, which is good. Got a good 14 minutes against Hong Kong. And I was absolutely blowing. It was a bit of a be careful what you wish for, a bit of a reality check. But yeah, got a game against Hong Kong. Managed to play against South Africa, which having a South African family was pretty interesting. Had a few good messages from the family back home. I managed to trot on for GB and Fiji as well with a couple of minutes in there, which was pretty surreal. The stadium was absolutely beautiful, covered for mostly part from one end that was open, but still meant that the heat and the humidity really hit you.
Yep.
You'd walk out of your changing room that was nice and air-conned up, and nice little slap in the face. Yeah.
Now, of course, sevens is completely different to 15s. Many people call it athletics with a running ball. Tell us about playing the game of sevens, the pace, and you always got to be on your toes. But what do you do in between games in terms of recovery? Because that's really important at these tournaments that often can go for 2 to 3 days.
Yeah. Sevens is pretty much a marathon, but with a bit of contact chucked in there. The most important thing is probably just getting time off feet. So park it up. Sometimes you can get a good couple of hours in between games. So try and get as much food as you can into you, especially if you've got, over 2 hours. And then just get horizontal, put the feet up, try have a nap if you can, or just chill out. It can be quite, the energy at these tournaments are pretty phenomenal. So it can be pretty easy to get kind of caught up in it and not be able to switch off, which is pretty key. Coming from 15s, you've got all day to prep for a game, and you just try and get as hissed as you can for it. But with sevens, if you don't put that switch back off after the game, it can really sap you and make your day just that much longer.
Gordon Titchens was well known in his time coaching New Zealand for strict diet and hydration. Is Clark Laidlaw exactly the same?
Nah, not exactly the same. I've heard some pretty unreal stories from a few of the boys that are a bit longer in the tooth about how Gordon ran things. Clark is a good bugger. He still has his standards, which we obviously abide by most of the time. But he's not as full on as no red meat and 20 week and stuff like that. He still lets us have our day one dessert. So not quite the same.
Of course, what position do you play in sevens, Rhodes?
Prop.
Now, of course, outside of tournaments, luckily now you're preparing for potentially the last two, and there's a big fight for selection coming up soon, as you said off here. In terms of training, what is involved for training for sevens, and does it involve a very different sort of gym conditioning as well?
It's not too dissimilar to 15s. Obviously, it's just the preferred body type is a bit different. We have either 3 or 4 on feet days that involve gyms and an on-field session. Obviously, you've got to have a lot more life in the legs than some positions in 15s. So, we usually spend a good couple of hours on the field, followed by another couple of hours in the afternoon. Power and obviously speed are pretty key for sevens. So we do a lot of stuff in the gym to try and bring that into play and develop that as much as we can. But you're still trying to fill the jersey in, so you're still lifting a bit of tin. Obviously, there's some boys there lifting a hell of a lot more than I am, but So a couple hours on the field each training day, and much the same in the gym too.
Now, of course, the sevens are mostly based together in Tauranga. That's a thing that's mostly happened in the last 5 to 6 years. Have you moved up to Tauranga full time, or is it you only go up there for during the sevens program?
No, we're here. I'm here full time. Obviously, boys that have NPC contracts or anything else like that, once the World Series finishes, they can go off to wherever that is. I've been up here for a year and a half now. My partner just moved over with the dog and all. Summer just been, which has been wicked. So based here full time. It's a pretty cool place. I kind of experienced both ends of the spectrum, going from the city in Wellington to moving to Taranaki on a beef farm out there. So in suburbia at the moment. Can't really complain. Weather's good, surf's good. So yeah, loving it.
And who are the key individuals and mentors within the Sevens program?
Oh, there's a hell of a lot. There's some real characters in there. I've been pretty fortunate. I spent most of last year injured, and there was a handful of us there. Obviously, you got guys like Andrew Newstub, who we talked about. He is going through a big comeback at the moment from having done his ACL twice. I spent a lot of time with Tim Mickelson. He's been getting his body in shape again since he last played at the Olympics. So he's been absolutely workhorse, been going through the motions with him. But you got so many leaders in the team that all fulfill different roles. Guys like obviously Sam Dixon, Scott Curry. You got guys like Sione Malea, Joe Weber, Dylan Collier. These are guys that are bloody experienced and they know how to play sevens. And they also know how important it is for a tight group of fellas. And everything they do is for the better of the team. So it's pretty cool being around guys like that.
And how did your pathway to sevens begin and get on the New Zealand program?
It's a bit different to, I guess what you'd call a traditional pathway. Obviously, I left St Pat's town. I think I played one or two games for the first 15, maybe against Hatapolda and some Bernards maybe. But when I moved to Taranaki after studying in Palmy, I started playing a bit of Prem rugby. I was about 70 kgs, dripping wet, and loved it. I was about as skinny as it gets, but I managed to play sevens for Taranaki 2018, the summer of 2018. I got in and played a few games, a few tournaments there. Thank you for bloody commentating me when we were at regionals in Levin.
That's right, yes, in Levin that time. Yeah.
I remember running into you. So that's where that started, and then after that campaign, Willie Rickards, who was the Bulls coach, kind of had a word with him, and I think I was 22 when I had a yarn and hadn't really set foot in a gym before, but he said I was too old to join an academy or join the academy, but if I wanted to come in and use the gym and see the nutritionist and stuff like that, they opened that door up to me. So kind of thought if not now, then never. So ripped in, managed to put on a couple of kgs, still searching for a few more. But played another season for Taranaki in the sevens. Managed to get an opportunity to trial for the sevens development squad, which didn't go too well. I got thrown around. So I went back to Taranaki. Played another season there. Managed to play for the Taranaki B team. Was pretty fortunate enough to get called up and play for the Bulls. Got the call same day as the final a few years back, and Clarkie offered me a contract, which was pretty insane. It was I wasn't too prepared for it. It wasn't really on my radar at all, but look at.
What's your thoughts on New Zealand no longer hosting a sevens leg of the tournament? A little bit disappointing for the team and all?
Yeah, definitely. Watching the guys at the last tournament in Hamilton just been and watching the crowd, and it's such a big tournament, not just for New Zealand, but you look at all the other nations that are represented there. Like I know wherever Fiji goes, they have a good crowd, but watching Fiji play Samoa was absolutely phenomenal.
Mm.
So for us to miss out on a tourney is pretty massive. I know the guys, when we were told, we're pretty bloody disappointed, but it sounds like we might get another couple opportunities through other tournaments and that to play in New Zealand, which I hope really kick on, because to wear a black jersey in New Zealand, I mean, you can only imagine what that feels like.
Exactly. So let's wind back the clock, Rhodes. Where did your junior rugby begin?
MSP down in Wellington, Marist St Pat. I think would have started playing there when I was about 5 or 6. Was with the same team, with the same coach, old Pat Dunn, all the way through until I got to St Pat. Yeah.
Let's talk about St Pat's. Of course, you attended there between 2010 and 2014. How did you find St Pat's? Because it's quite a special place.
Yeah, definitely. It's you don't really realise how special it is until you leave and you start talking to other blokes about their time at school. It was a pretty tight knit class that we had specifically. We had a few big things rock us while we were at the school. It's a pretty cool old school old boys group to be a part of. You know, you much like yourself. You know, you always know what's going on, and you know, you've always got mates hitting you up. We had Rory Woods come up from. He spent a bit of time with us, and that was my first time really catching up with an old boy outside of Wellington or anything like that, and that was pretty cool. He was a few years younger than me, but you know, same kind of stories and that come through. So it was pretty cool. It was a good couple of years.
And of course, you played for quite a number of junior teams, but as you mentioned just earlier, you did play a few games for the first 15. What year did you make that first 15 squad?
So I would have been my last year, 2014. I think the year before that I was playing under 65Bs.
What a jump up, massive.
Yeah, I remember playing for the second 15 and thinking how unreal that was. And then playing for the first 15, heck, I thought I was a superstar. It was, yeah, it was pretty cool.
What was your debut game? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Huddy Hui. I'm pretty sure that the first 15 had to do like a back-to-back.
Yep.
A game on a Wednesday and a game on Saturday. So they ran most of the second 15 boys on against Huddy Hui. Yeah, it was pretty cool on the artificial turf. I remember that pretty well.
Yep. Oh, the old artificial turf. At least it was better than what it used to be. I think you played that last game. What was it, 65s that year? We played the last ever game on the old grass field. It probably should never have gone ahead. So.
Francis Southerly. Oh, man, I remember. Heck, a lot of mud and a lot of wind.
Now, as you mentioned, you've had a number of coaches throughout your time, and who's probably the most important coach you've had in your development as a rugby player?
Oh, heck, I have had a couple. I don't think it'd be really fair to single one of them out. I had like Natai Walker, who was our coach at Inglewood. He was pretty phenomenal in terms of developing a bit of self-belief behind me. I was didn't have too much confidence coming up and playing prems and stuff like that, but he was pretty unreal to grow that. Johnny Weston, who was my Taranaki Sevens coach, he's just all around good rooster, but he also is bloody good at coaching. And obviously now we got Clark Landor, Tomasi Kama. Like, heck, there's too many to really name all of them, to be honest, bro. It wouldn't really be too fair.
Now, of course, also, I believe you were part of the rowing squad at the college as well. Tell us about rowing. What was your speciality? And did you get to go to Māori Capital?
Yeah, I did. I got dragged down the course more than a couple of times. I think I took it more seriously than rugby. Well, I definitely took it more seriously than rugby. I probably thought I had more of a future in it than footy. Yeah, good couple of years down at Mighty Cup. Was the double sculls was my game. I had Gus Stone. You'll remember big old Gus.
I remember Gus.
He dragged me down the course. I was just all skin and bones, and he was the muscle. It was just pulled us down. Don't think we ever did particularly well. But yeah, no, had a lot of fun. It definitely gave me a bit of an engine going into my older life. I look back now and think if I could be half as fit as I was back then, it would do me pretty well. But I'm battling to get there. Yeah.
Well, at least your body isn't falling apart yet, Rhodes. That's the main thing. So,
Yeah.
of course, after after school though, you mentioned off to do some studies in Palmerston North. You studied at Massey. What was your degree? And I believe it linked into farming. But did you play any club footy up there in Manawatu?
Yep, yeah, managed to play some footy. No, it wasn't farming though. I did a bachelor of sport and exercise.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so had a lot of fun in Palmy. Played for varsity there, a couple of years with the Colts, and then 1 year with the Bees, where I managed to get a couple games for the Prems. Yeah, it was an interesting couple of times. I was actually just telling a few stories. Probably can't share on here, but it was a good couple of years of some personal development. We can say that. And if it wasn't for Palmy, there's nobody where I would have found myself in Taranaki. Met my partner there and followed her up to her family farm. So yeah.
So that's how you got into farming, Rhodes. Is you followed the girlfriend to Taranaki. So how did you find farming, being a city boy?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I didn't do a hell of a lot of it. When I first moved to Taranaki, I did event in kind of venue management for the council, and then it wasn't until the first lockdown during COVID, one of the neighbours gave us a call, and asked me if I'd ever milked cows before. I said nah, and he said, "Oh well, do you want to learn?" And I wasn't doing much. It was lockdown. I was probably eating too much and not doing enough running. So I said, yeah, definitely. He said, sweet, can you be over here in 15 minutes? So got a crash course on how to pull tits, how to milk cows. I quite liked it actually. It was quite meditative, I guess. You're okay with cow crap and potentially getting stood on and kicked. So that's not too bad. It's something I'd probably look to explore again once I finish footy. I quite like the lifestyle that it brings, and there's nothing better than standing on your porch and not having a neighbour in sight. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Of course, when you moved up there to Taranaki, you played for Inglewood, and then the doors started to open up for you up there, Rhodes, in your rugby career. Tell us what it's like playing in local club rugby there for Inglewood, and how did you start to get on the Taranaki Bulls' radar?
Yeah, Inglewood, greatest club in Taranaki. I'll die on that hill till I blow my last breath. That's good group of lads. Awesome bit of culture there. We've had a interesting few years. When I first started playing for her, we won one game all season.
Oh wow!
It was a bit of a rough introduction, and then we managed to get the ball rolling there and get a championship in 2021. Yeah, club rugby in Taranaki is a different breed, eh? It's pretty cool. You got some teams in there that you think they shouldn't be playing as well as they are, and they're absolutely smashing it. After playing my first year there, I ended up parking up for about 6 months. I took a bit of a head knock, and again, rugby at the time wasn't something I took too seriously, so I just pushed it off and said, oh, okay, that's me for the year, and managed to play the next year as well, got into it, managed to put on a little bit of size just after playing that first season of sevens. And then, yeah, end of that season came. I made the goal that I wanted to try play for the Taranaki B team. Managed to get brought into that, and then once I was in there, you kind of look around and you see these guys, they get the odd call up to sit on the bench or to play for the Bulls. So that just became my next goal, to try and push for that, and almost be a bit of a pest, be the guy there that's chucking his hand up saying if you need someone to hold tackle pads, like I'll ditch work and come and do them for you if you like. So I was definitely that guy for a couple of years. Jared Hoyata and Barnesy, who are coaching now, like I was always giving them a text if at the start of the week saying, do you need me this week? I'm free. I've got a put it around milkings towards the my last year in Taranaki. So I was just kind of a test really. Was chucking my hand up and managed to get a few minutes for them and that. So yeah, pretty bloody grateful for that. If it wasn't for them, there's no way in hell I would have got the opportunity that I've got now.
And what was your debut match for Taranaki in the NPC? What game was that against? Who'd you play against?
It was Hawke's Bay in the semi-final at Hawke's Bay, and they absolutely pumped us. It was
tough place to play, the Hawke's Bay. So.
Yeah, I think they'd given out. I think they made it free entry, so it was absolutely packed. Not a few kind words tossed in from the crowd. I think I managed to get about 30 minutes actually. I think Brownie took a knock to the head, or I think he might have burst his eardrum or something, and came wandering off. And manager said my name and had to do a double take. Managed to trot around out there, and yeah, it was pretty wicked. Kurt Baker, who obviously has spent the first year here with him, he was an absolute grub on the field, and a few good stories about that. Yeah.
What's your preferred position in 15s, Rhodes?
Well, all my games for Taranaki have come at lock, which, considering I'm only about 94, 95 kgs, is asking a bit much. I quite like being a bit of open side and then a bit of six as well. I like having a crack at the ball. Get blown out most of the time, but I'll give it a crack.
And what's the hardest part about when you have to transition from 7 to 15s and vice versa? What's the biggest change?
Probably the biggest battle I had was the mindset shift. Like in sevens, it's not always the best idea to take contact. I quite like contact as well, so it definitely took me a while to wrap my head around that. And just the game flows so different, and it all also depends on who you've got outside you or who's on the field. As everyone likes to run things a little bit different or structure it a little bit different. Probably the fact that everyone's rapid. There's not too many slow players in sevens, and they're all fit too. But yeah, probably just the contact side of things. There are some big contacts in sevens, but they don't occur as much as in 15s, and you don't have 130 kg props that are falling on top of you.
Yeah. Now, of course, in the process now of battling and fighting your way to possibly make the New Zealand squad for the last two tournaments of the World Series League. New Zealand on 164 points, 2 rounds to go, Toulouse, and then the final part of the World Series in London. The next best team is Argentina on 140. What is required for the New Zealand Sevens men's teams to take out the World Series? Do they just simply have to win one of those tournaments? What do you think needs to be done?
Play some good code. Hopefully it comes. I think we don't look too external in terms of what needs to be done or how other teams need to perform. I think part of the reason the team's done so well is because we've been hard on ourselves, and we've been pretty honest and open with ourselves about if we're prepping right or what needs to be done. I think if you do kind of start looking at other teams and too much, if you're playing 4 or 5 different teams in a tournament, even more. So if you're trying to look at externally, there's too much to look at. But no, I think we're in good stead. Obviously, we want to go out there and represent the country, so we're never going to go out there and try and do the bare minimum. I think obviously if we can manage to get a win in Toulouse in London, make a few finals, hopefully, we've been able to tick that box. But we genuinely take that game by game play. We prep for the next game that we have. When that's done, we prep for the next. Don't get too far ahead of ourselves.
Rhodes, it's been fantastic having you on the Huddy Hui. Well done on your debut 3 weeks ago, and all the best in preparing for the last 2 series of the World Series. Well done on your career today.
Hey, cheers, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It's been a yarn. Hope I wasn't too boring.
No, very insightful, Rhodes. Well done. Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers. Appreciate it.
That is Rhodes Featherstone, promising sevens player. And also a product here from the capital city. And speaking about the capital city, let's look at footy this weekend. There's the opening round of the Transit First 15 Festival. That is at the rather fancy NZCIS in Trentford. And there are 4 teams from Wellington, 3 teams from the Super 8. Used to be 4, but Napier have taken the place of Hamilton Boys, and they are going over to the Sanix tournament. So Fielding Boys High School, or Fielding Agricultural High School, I should say, from the Central North Island have taken their place. And so 2 games on at 11:30. Rongotai College playing against Fielding High School in field number 2. Wellington College take on Gisborne in field 4. And then at 1 o'clock on Saturday is the 2 Catholics, St Pat's Town taking on Palmerston North Boys High School in field 4. And Silverstream taking on the very powerful Hastings Boys High School on field 2. And more importantly, Swindale Shield. This is turning into quite the exciting competition. The table has well and truly turned on its head, and we're starting to see some teams that have often been down towards the bottom of the table really causing a few upsets. Parramatta Plymouth beating Tarwood last weekend. Not many saw that happening. And of course, Upper Hutt at the top of the table, and Johnsonville. Well, Johnsonville sitting at 7th and nearly had a win against Marist St Pat's. Ended up being a draw in that game. So it's all happening in Swindale Shield this year. And so let's have a look at the round 5 matchups. Kick off on Saturday, 2:45 for all games. Avalon versus Wellington, 13 versus 14. Battle, well, at this stage, could be potentially the wooden spoon. And that is at Fraser Park. Huddy Boys Marist take on the very powerful Parramatta Plymoughton, who have only lost 1 game. That was against Upper Hutt in round 1. That is 10 versus 4. Huddy Boys starting to get players back. They got their second game at home. And they even called up last weekend a few guys that were in Premiers only about 2 years ago from their Premier reserves. So they seem to be on the up, but Parramatta Plymoughton on fire at the moment. Northern United finally at home, and they are hosting the top of the table Upper Hutt Rams, 12 versus 1 at Porora Park, number 2, I believe. And of course, they did actually have a home game 2 weeks ago. It was at Ascot Park on a Thursday night. See how Norths go. They've definitely got the power in the forwards, but can they control the electrifying backs and the power of Toby Crosby, who is captaining Norths, captaining Upper Hutt at the moment? And then, of course, real good inner city match. Old Boys University hosting Marist St Pat's. That is 2 versus 5 at Rugby League Park. That's always a good, entertaining match, that one. Oriental Rongotai host Johnsonville. Always a good history between these 2 clubs. Had similar coaches and players play at both clubs. This is 3 versus 7 on the table. Orange with a good comeback win against Petone last weekend in the second half. Tawa hosting Wainui, 6 versus 7. Tawa will be looking to strike back after their loss to Parramatta Plymoughton last weekend. Of course, Wainui, roughly about 60 minutes were in the game against Upper Hutt. Just fell away in the last 20. That game at Lyndhurst Park. And our game on Huddy Sports YouTube this Saturday is Petone. Old Timers Day at Petone as they host their great rival and friendly rival, that is Porniki. It is 8 versus 11 on the table. Always a good history between these 2. Porniki winning it in the last minute last year. It was great broadcasting that game on Porniki TV with John Jackson. And what a thrilling finish it was with Connor Strand going over and winning it at the death for Porniki against Petone. So expect that game to be another thriller. Porniki finally getting their first win last weekend, beating North. So coverage of that game will roughly start about 2:40, but our broadcast feed on Huddy Sports YouTube will kick off at 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. Also, keep an eye out on our Instagram and Facebook pages tomorrow, Thursday, the 27th of April. 2 free tickets to give away to the Hurricanes game on Friday night at 7:35 as they take on the Brumbies. There will be a question up there on our Instagram and Facebook tomorrow morning. Have a crack at that. And if you are the first one in, that has to email it into huddysportsnz@gmail.com. And you're first in, and it's correct. Tickets are yours. So watch out for that tomorrow morning on our Instagram and Facebook page. Well, that is the Huddy Hui tonight. It's been fantastic having Rhodes Featherstone, product of St Pat's Town, who's gone on to have a fantastic rugby career. Just shows that you don't always need to be the star to make it an international level of rugby. So there's the Huddy Hui for tonight. Ciao for now.